Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Jim Scapa. Jim Scapa brings nearly 40 years of business growth, innovation, and cultural stewardship to his role as founder, chairman, and CEO of Altair, a global leader in computational intelligence. In 1985, Jim and two partners identified a need and formed Altair with a focus on the then new field of simulation using high-performance computing. Today, through Jim's leadership, the company serves more than 16,000 customers and employs more than 3,000 employees with 81 offices across 29 countries. Altair software, which includes simulation, high-performance computing, and data analytics and AI, is used across a broad range of industries, including automotive, aerospace, government and defense, banking and finance, technology, energy, electronics, life sciences, architecture, and heavy equipment. Well, good afternoon, Jim. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. I appreciate you making the time, hailing out of the great state of California there in the Bay Area. Appreciate you making the time. We're a 2-hour difference, but it all works out when we're doing these podcasts around the world. So, Jim, jumping into your first question, you founded Altair in 1985 with a focus on simulation using high-performance computing. Can you share the initial challenges you faced in this then new field and how you overcame them?
Sure. I mean, we were a very small company when we formed the company. We were based in Detroit, so not in the world of Silicon Valley and software. And we started with $1,500, so not heavily financed. And we were playing in a field that had some public companies playing in it. We started primarily as a consulting company working with the auto industry. And it was early days of doing simulation and computers were relatively smaller, but, through the years, as computers continued to evolve, larger memory, all of that, we began developing some software and we essentially disrupted the market for modeling and visualization by taking a new direction where we had much, much larger memory, brought the entire model into memory. And we disrupted by having about 30 times faster graphics performance with our first software product. So challenges were, getting the distribution, getting out to customers, being unknown, being small. And we just had to simply overcome those with better technology and agility and hard work.
Thank you for sharing. And I know, starting out and $1,500 is probably a lot more back then than it is today. to give our audience some perspective, I remember those days and the green screens and so forth. But no, I appreciate you sharing kind of some of the struggles and challenges you did starting out. But you're still in this space, and obviously you've moved along, or at least moved ahead with the technology, because you're still in business and you've grown quite a bit. So thank you. And Jim, Altair has grown to serve over 16,000 customers with 3,000 employees across 81 offices in 29 countries. What key leadership principles have you followed to achieve and sustain this growth?
For me, it's largely about building a culture in the company that is sort of the guiding light, and it's a culture of a lot of innovation, frankly. Very broad communications, looking forward to where the market and where technology is going, and making decisions in the context of that longer future that we see. And we've been very experimentalist through the years, and trying new things from a technology standpoint, from a business model standpoint, and it's worked well for us. We were a private company for 32 years, and I IPO'd in late 2017. And we've obviously had a great run in these last 6 years. We IPO'd at $13 a share, and today we're close to $100 a share. So yeah, it's been quite a ride, and again, it's very driven by a strong culture in the company of mutual respect and great technology and innovation.
Thank you. I do appreciate you highlighting that. That's nearly a 40-year span, obviously, of your company from its inception to today. And it's really a testament to your leadership with the culture and being able to move a private company to IPO. And that's just simply awesome. So thank you for sharing that. And Jim, the landscape of computational science and AI has changed significantly over the last few decades. How has Altair adapted its technologies and services to stay ahead of the curve?
I think once again we've been looking forward, and I think we've been often leaders in terms of embracing where technology is going. So we started in mechanical simulation, primarily with software for structural analysis and fluid mechanics and motion and those sorts of things. We've added lots of electronics. And so we have a full portfolio of electronic simulation technology, which is an area we're continuing to pour investment into. In the early 2000s, we could see that computing for high performance computing was really moving from a world of very specialized computers, Crays and SGIs and convexes and floating point systems and Apollos, lots of dead computer companies actually. And it all moved to commodity clusters, which is what you see today. And we saw the need for managing where and when jobs are running and scheduling them and moving the data around. And so we began investing in that direction. And today we're the leading player for workload and workflow management on high performance computing. And it took us out of just manufacturing into life science and pharma, banking and financial services, energy, lots of markets that were not served by engineering software. And by coming into the HPC world, we began to see, we would go to supercomputing conferences and we were seeing data science really starting to rise. It used to be all about simulation, but data science was starting to rise. And so we began to invest in data analytics and data science. And so today there's really those three legs to our stool. And they're all converging, very, very dramatically. Today you can run a series of simulations, run it through a neural net, model and basically end up with a neural net that can now run the next simulation and give you very, very accurate results, or it can complete a simulation run and run the last few milliseconds of that simulation by predicting it using data science. And that continued to expand our world. Most of our data analytics and data science customers are actually in banking and financial services, but there's an explosion right now of AI and engineering. And we see just every customer wanting to embrace that. So we're finding ourselves sort of in the center of, where all this technology is going. And, it's just been very, very exciting for us.
That's amazing. Again, just highlighting some of the shifts. You were always trying to stay a step ahead of the, evolving landscape as far as technology. And I do love working in that analytics space, right? You talked a little bit about the predictive modeling with using some of the machine learning. And I think that's just awesome. And I appreciate you highlighting some of that for our audience. And Jim, last question of the day, what are some of the emerging trends in computational science and AI that excite you the most? How is Altair preparing to address these trends and continue its legacy of innovation?
Yeah, well, there's two main areas that we're probably most focused investing in right now. One is electronics. And even though you didn't mention it, I'll mention it. And data science is playing a big role there as well, by the way. But in electronics, you're seeing this big move from sort of 2D chip, integrated circuit design to chiplets, where you're stacking chiplets, and it's becoming much more of a 3D world. It's called 3D IC. And that's creating the opportunity to disrupt that market. And I love coming in and disrupting markets. And so that's an area of a lot of focus for us. And we've been a very acquisitive company. We've acquired 58 mostly founder-led technology companies. And more recently, it's all been around electronics and data science. In data science, we find ourselves in just a really great spot. It's taken 5-6 years, but we just were selected to be in the leader quadrant of the Magic Quadrant for Gartner, which is not an easy place to be. And I think we have a really unique portfolio now. We have a very strong platform for data science. And the areas we've been investing in most recently, obviously Gen AI, is a huge part of what we're doing. But we also acquired what we think is the best technology for analytical graph database technology, which lets you kind of build this fabric across your enterprise. If you have, many, many disparate databases all around the enterprise, especially in large enterprises, and you want to connect that and find all the relationships between all the data in this database over here of customers and this database over here of products and whatever, marketing databases and sales databases and engineering databases and manufacturing databases. And we build this semantic layer above all of that connects all that data. And now you can query for what you want analytically, and you can use large language models, for example, to do natural language questions, and it will basically search the entire universe of your data across the entire enterprise. We think that's going to be a huge and dramatic shift. As everyone's been trying to find, how do we solve that problem? Do we bring all the data into a giant data lake and do it that way? I think this solution, and it's massively parallel processing, so it's extremely, extremely fast, very scalable, I think is going to be really, really fundamental to sort of transforming how you get to data, reducing hallucinations when you're doing these queries. So that's an area we're absolutely investing in heavily. And, the other one is just trying to understand where Gen AI goes. The current hype cycle, I think, is pretty substantial. And the investments, I think, that are being made are probably not aligned with the return today. But that doesn't mean I don't think, there's a huge future for all this technology. I just think there's going to be a sort of comeback here in the next couple of years. And then the typical slow rise on the hype cycle. And I think a lot of what's going to start to happen is techniques like quantification, which are, sort of reducing the size, if you will, of these models so that they're more feasible, they run faster, and just using lots of new technologies to be able to bring down the scale of these models, but retain the accuracy so that the cost to run them becomes more in line. It's absolutely an area that's really just at the beginning, I think, and I think is going to be transformative in engineering, in IC design and mechanical engineering, in business and much more. So yeah, those are pretty obvious, but I think clearly the big areas that we see change in.
Thank you. And you highlighted quite a bit. Obviously, you started out with exploring other technologies, diversifying in the technologies, including electronics. But I do like the tail end of your conversation about how you can make things faster when you have so many different disparate data systems across your enterprise. It is hard sometimes to bring that all together, and scaling can be hard when you've got that much data. So I appreciate you sharing some of those insights. Really do. Our audience will certainly appreciate it. And Jim, it was certainly a pleasure having you on today, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Well, it's my pleasure as well. Thanks for the interest to talk with me. So appreciate the visibility that you bring to my company. So thank you.
Bye for now.